All right, good morning. Welcome to the Daniel S. Loeb Torah Center Morning Torah Breakfast and Class. Today, my friends, we're going to talk about children. Those who are with us in the Bet Knesset this morning may have noticed three lovely boys who are sitting having breakfast with us who did a special mitzvah of pouring the water, Leviim, onto the hands of the Kohanim. And let me see who else we have over here. Oh, there's a fourth one. He's not a child, he's a man. Look at this kid. Baruch Hashem. The special mitzvah of pouring the water on the hands of the Kohanim. The regular Leviim gave over this mitzvah to the children. Let me tell you, they did an amazing thing. We're going to talk today. This was really my plan. It's been a shemaim that you kids all turned up. We're going to talk about children and those who bring them to the Bet Knesset. And we're going to transfer that into the Pesach Seder. First of all, bracha. Thank you, Nathan. Those who are here can answer amen. Baruch atah Adonai. Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh bevaro. That woke me up. Let's jump straight into a Mishna in Pirkei Avot. There's a very unusual Mishna that talks about great scholars, their attributes, and then it makes a certain aside about one of them. Hu haya moneh shivcham. They were speaking about the great qualities of various Torah scholars. Eliezer ben Hukunus is like a bor sush enema b'tipa. He was like a cistern that accepted information, and he wouldn't lose a drop of Torah. He always held on to the Torah that he had. And then we meet Yoshua ben Hanania, Ashrei Yoladato. He was a great, great scholar. Praiseworthy is the one who gave birth to this person. Yosef a Kohen, Joseph the Kohen, was a Chassid. I mean, it doesn't mean he's walking around with a strimal on. They weren't a Chassidim like that then, but whatever that means. Shimon ben Netanel, Yirei Chet, was very fearful of committing a sin. Elazar ben Arach, Kamayan Mitgaber, was like a continual font of water, i.e. Torah, to everyone who was around him. I want to just focus on one of these, and Yoshua ben Hanania. Yoshua ben Hanania, he is praised because Ashrei Yoladato, praiseworthy is the one who gave birth to him. That's his praise. You praise him because his mother gave birth to him? What does that even mean? That's the praise. I said, I know a great guy. Oh, he's a successful business person. He does chesed. He learns Torah. Tell me how great he was. His mother gave birth to him. That's it. That's what the Mishna says.
He's praiseworthy or his mother?
Oh, it says, Ashrei Yolodato. His mother is praiseworthy for having him. Having given birth to him.
Why not?
What kind of praise is that? What kind of praise is that? Doesn't make sense. Nathan, it doesn't make sense. What is going on with this Mishnah in Pirkei Avot? That his mother takes the credit for his achievements. What's going on over here? So let's talk about his mother for a minute, because the Gemara does talk, I think it's Yerushalmi. I'll look it up afterwards, I don't remember. His mother is described as being a woman who took extra care to bring her children from day one of their birth in the crib to the Bet Midrash every single day. The reason he became who he was, one of the 5 greatest scholars of Jewish history, who after the death of thousands of students, he was one of the people who reconstituted Torah. And we don't look at him and his accomplishments. We're like, do you know how this particular boy became who he was? The Meforshim, the Gemara tells us, because his mother took very careful care to schlep him every single day. That's what the Gemara says. To meet all the Torah scholars. And there's a famous conversation. What is the point of that? They don't understand, right? 2-day-old baby, with all due respect, doesn't understand what's happening in the Bet Midrash. Osmosis. Exactly the word I was going to use. There's 2 ways that we learn. One way we learn is we sit down, we study, we try to understand. But there's a great way to understand. And that is by being present. Somewhere we imbibe information. Where does this idea come from? Is this based on anything that you can learn via osmosis? Is there such a concept of Judaism? Absolutely yes. There's a Gemara and Nida that all of you are aware of. And that is when a person is a fetus in the womb. An angel comes, says the Gemara, I think it's page 58, around there somewhere, somewhere around there if I remember correctly, and holds a lamp above the baby's head and teaches the baby all the Torah that this person is going to need to know for the rest of their lives. Actually, the Gemara goes even further and says it shows them a light of understanding from one end of the world to the other end of the world. They are given everything that is ever going to happen to them throughout their entire lives. And then they're about to come out into the world. What happens? They get smacked, punched by a malach in the face. Wow, what a lesson. And it creates a little crease over here, boop, a little dot inside there, and they forget it all. What's that about? Imagine I tutor you for an exam. You're about to go in for algebra or Rahman Aslan, calculus, which I mentioned before, is the one course I deliberately failed university. You're allowed to fail one course in my university. I said, I choose calculus. Right? I got like 20%. I still graduated, Baruch Hashem. So you get smacked in the face. Imagine I tutor you and I teach you, and you're about to walk in, and then I punch you in the face. You get amnesia. You forget it all. I'm like, good luck. What kind of Gemara? What's the Gemara teaching us? Physical violence? Not learning in order to forget what's happening over here. So the idea is that all the information is there, but it's driven down inside you. And the mouth is going to be that which you're going to bring it out again during your life. So this information is not lost as many people think. It's there inside each and every one of us. The Torah is downloaded. And many times, and if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, you hear a Torah idea and it resonates with you. You have that experience? You hear a Devar Torah, and you hear it, you're like, that's one of the possibilities of deja vu. You go somewhere to do something good, hopefully, or you hear a Torah, and you're like, I feel like I've heard it before. It's like it resonates with you. And then you start telling your friends this Devar Torah. That is most likely information that was downloaded into your neshama as a baby. By the way, I'll end with this piece anyway, a bit of a mystical idea that's a little scary. The Mefarshim say that when the baby grows up and lives its entire life, and then it leaves this world, one of the first faces it sees, it recognizes. It sees family. When we leave this world, the first thing we see is family, right? Deceased ancestors, which for some people is good news. For some people may not be good news. Depends how good you are with your parents and in-laws. But one of the first faces you see is the face of an angel. And you look at his face, and you're like, I know this face. I recognize it. And then you realize it's the face of the angel that taught you all the Torah you need before you were born. And the angel comes back. This malach comes back and says, so, where is it? I gave you everything you needed to know. I put it deep inside your neshama. Did you learn Torah your entire life in order to bring it out, to regurgitate that original Torah? And then it says the neshama goes through a little bit of turmoil, a couple of screams come out because it realizes how much it could have achieved but didn't. Then looks at all the other people who did achieve it, and it feels embarrassed because of that. That's part of the tribulations that come to the neshama going into the next world. Either way, we see that children are able, through osmosis, to take in Torah information. Just being present at the Shabbat table, just being present in the Bet Knesset, in the synagogue, in the Bet Midrash, or even you. We've all been through this. You go to a Torah class, it could be early in the morning, it could be nighttime, and you check out. You know, I think back to my days in yeshiva, you're sitting there, you're like, I do not know what is going on. One of my Rosh Yeshivas used to give a shiur, I'm like, I don't know what's happening. So I went up to him afterwards, I said, Rebbe, with all due respect, I didn't know what was flying over here. He says, you don't understand? It's okay. Your neshama understands. Just being present in a Torah class, there are different levels of understanding. There's chokhmah, there's bina, there's da'at. Dat is an understanding. Chokhmah is a wisdom, but there's also an inner binah that we have, that just being present while those words being said, your neshama takes it in. It absorbs that information, even that. Now, obviously the best is Chabad, Chokhmah, Bin and Dat, right? To get all the I'm not Chabad, but all the information, great organization, all the information should be understood and should be, I don't get any hate online, right? Should be understood, but even being present, no jokes aside, even being present should be part of it. Why am I mentioning this right now? Why am I mentioning this right now? Because we're about to celebrate the next holiday that's on deck right now is Pesach. Make no mistake, it's all about the children. Listen to this beautiful Rambam and this Gemara is going to blow your mind. First of all, we know it's about the kids because the Torah tells us. The Torah tells us in Sefer Shemot, listen to this beautiful pasuk, V'higarta lebincha, talk to your kids. Higarta, lahagid. We said the word Pesach. Pesach also means Pesach, the mouth speaks. It is one of the two Torah mitzvot of the Pesach Seder. There's only two of the Pesach. The rest are all the Rabbanan or the Minhagim. The Torah mitzvot are Haggadah and Achilat Matzah. Both, by the way, involve the mouth. Matzah goes in, V'higarta lebincha goes out. It's a two-way street when it comes to the mouth on Pesach. Don't drink too much and then more's going to come out. But anyway, Bayamahu, on that day, what day are we talking about? What day do we give the Sipur of Yetziat Mitzrayim? By the way, it's a story. You should realize the Haggadah is not a tefillah. It's not a prayer. Right? If you sit there and someone's like reading it, what are you doing? Is that how you tell a story? You tell a story to make it understood. Right? Like any good rabbi, you want the story to be appreciated. You want the story to be colorful, enjoyable, at moments even humorous. That is what the Haggadah is. Bayamahu, on that day, what's that day? The day that matzah is in front of you. When is matzah in front of you? Pesach. So now we are connecting the achilat matzah with the higarta lebincha. Otherwise, you could tell the story whenever you want. Maybe the pasuk is speaking about, I don't know, the middle of Adar. It's not. It's talking about Pesach night. Lemor, ba'avor zeh, because of this. Now, remember the word zeh is a code word. Whenever the word zeh appears in the Torah, it always means somebody is pointing at something. That means that thing's in front of them. When Moshe Rabbeinu says zeh, talking about the moon, right? Or talking about the coin, right? Machas shekel, he's always pointing at the menorah. It's always something in front of you. You're seeing it. It's in front of you. So zeh, that means they're pointing at something. In this case, they're pointing at the matzah and the korban basech. Asa Hashem li b'seitim Mitzrayim. So we know that you have to speak it out. You would have thought this only applies if you have a child. Says the Rambam in Hilchot Chametz Umatzah, V'afal pi she'en lo pen, even if you don't have a child. You don't have a child, or maybe your kids are out of the house. I don't know. Maybe you got away from them, went on vacation to, I don't know, some other country. Afilu chachamim gedolim. Maybe like, come on, I'm a big Torah scholar. I know what's happening in the Haggadah. I got to say it again. Yes, you do. Say it over again. Chayvim l'saper. Look at the language. Saper, sipur, story. B'yetzir Mitzrayim v'chol ha'ma'arich. Whoever extends this story, the longer, the better. B'dvarim she'aru v'shiyu harezim mishubach. You are praised for doing this, says the Rambam. Says the Gemara. Let's talk about kids. By the way, as a side point, if there are two people present at the Pesach Seder, a 100-year-old and a 99-year-old, the 99-year-old says, Ma nishtana halayla hazeh, and the 100-year-old answers them. And if, lo alein, you are by yourself at the Pesach Seder, you ask and you become the child and the teacher. That is the halacha. You read the Haggadah, ask the questions yourself, and answer your own questions. That is the halacha, by the way. So it's not dependent solely upon having children. We all become children on this night. Anyway, listen to this beautiful Gemara at the end of Pesachim. The Gemara says, Amru alav al Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, by the way, you should know Rabbi Akiva, he didn't have a childhood. He didn't start studying Torah till he was how old? 40 years old. Imagine that, 40 years old. Wow, and then he taught Torah for 40 years. And then he learned Torah for 40 years, and then he taught Torah for 40 years. He lived 120, then he died at the hands of the Romans at Mea Ve'esrim. Okay? So, to the age of 40, he knew nothing. Imagine that. 40 years old, he goes and sits with a bunch of children, and he's By the way, you should know that he did not like the rabbis. You thought sometimes you get irritated with the rabbis. He hated them. The Gemara says that when he saw a rabbi, he said he wanted to bite them like a donkey. Why like a donkey, not like a dog? So the Gemara says, because when a dog bites you, it's a flesh wound. When a donkey bites you, it breaks the bone as well. That's how much he hated the Rabbanim. I hope it's not true in this room. He became a Chozeh B'Tshuvah, one of the greatest Baal Tshuvot who exists in Jewish history. So maybe that's why, this is my own take, this following lesson comes from him who missed out on the Torah as a child. He used to machalek klayot ve'eguzin. He would hand out grains of klayot, of wheat, whatever it is, ve'eguzin, and nuts, letinokot, to children, be'erev Pesach, on Pesach, kedeh shelo yishanu, so they would not fall asleep. This is not true on any other holiday, only Pesach, v'yishalu, in order to make them ask questions. And the Gemara goes even further. Tanya Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, chotfin, we grab matzot, the matzot, belele Pesachim, on the night of Pesach, we grab them, we steal them, we hide them, bishvil tinokot, for the young children, shelo yishanu, so they don't fall asleep. We play games, we give them special treats, we hide the matzah. This is an ancient, holy tradition of our ancestors in order to keep them engaged. That's what it's about. The Rambam continues, if you don't mind, one last piece. You should do things differently on this night. Don't make this night like any other night. Kedeh, says the Rambam, shiru abanim, in order to wake up the kids, v'yishalu, and they're going to ask, v'yomru, ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol haleilot. Why is this night different from all other nights? Ad sheyeshiv lahem, so you're able to answer them. You instigate your children to ask questions. We want our kids to be wise. Chokhmah. We said the word chokhmah is two words put together. Koach ma, the power of what? So he said, and he carries on. Kach v'kach yirav v'kach hachaya. You say, oh, that's what it's about. For example, you're going to wash your hands before you eat the karpas. You don't make a bracha. Anybody here wash their hands before eating vegetables during the year? No, we don't do that. Okay, maybe with soap. You probably need to. But we wash them with a kli and we don't make a bracha. And the kids are like, what are we doing over here? What's happening? That's because we do things differently tonight. We want to change the sequence of events in order to keep the kids involved. So the Rambam quotes the Gemara we just mentioned, Rabbi Eliezer, they used to, we don't do this anymore, they used to have little mini tables. They would sit like kings, leaning, and they would bring tables backwards and forwards. Little mini tables. They didn't have one big table like we have. They had mini tables sit in front of him. You sit like a king or a queen, and they would take the table away, bring it back, take the table away, bring it back. You're like, oh my goodness, what is going on? That, he says, is all there on that night to keep the kids interesting. The Rambam brings it lahalacha. You should hide the matzah. Don't think, oh, these are stupid children's games. You got a 99-year-old and a 100-year-old. The 100-year-old hides the matzah, and the 99-year-old should be like, boop, 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 right? Where's Waldo? Right, let's go find the matzah. Where's he hidden it? Right? And you bribe them with toys. I wouldn't try bribing them with nuts, because they'll think you're nuts. You got to bring out a PlayStation or something, I don't know. He says, all these things are there to bring the kids in order to get them involved and get them excited. I'll finish with the words of Rabbi Eliezer Kitov Sefer Todah, the book of our heritage. And he says, he was a great Torah scholar, the purpose of the Haggadah is to talk to children. I think I mentioned before, I used to go to my Rosh Yeshiva for Pesach Seder to see how Pesach is done as a single man. And he would put his kids next to him. And he would put the rest of the guests far away, and he wouldn't talk to the guests. He used to talk to the kids the entire night. During the rest, on a regular Shabbat, Chagim, Sukkah, talk to the guests. What's your story? What's going on? Devar Torah. On Pesach, he would talk to the kids. It's like we were observers. I remember this distinctly. We were observers to this.
So you learn by osmosis.
You learn by osmosis, yeah. Right. 100%. He wasn't talking to us. And he says, the Ikar mitzvah haggadah hu b'banim. The Ikar mitzvah is to your kids. Ulefarsem et nisei. And it's to publicize the nisim of Asir Mitzrayim. L'kol shemeh. To whoever is listening. But you're talking to the kids. Lefikach, therefore, ra'ui, it is fitting, l'rosh hamasubin, to the person running the seder, shifarish et inyanei haggadah, to explain what's happening in the haggadah. L'msobim v'yosef pem, and add to them hezber, an explanation. Kadosh yavinu hakol, so they understand. I mean, I grew up, we used to have haggadah. My mother should live and be well as Israeli. Right? We're like, okay, mom, we're hungry. Get reading. Brrr. And my father would stop her. Let's schmooze a bissel. Right? Let's have an understanding over here of what's going on. It's not a speed reading contest. But prat, specifically katanim, or lemish eno lashon, or a person who doesn't understand. You have somebody who seder who is like a child. If Rabbi Akiva was at a seder at 5 years old, he didn't know what's going on. You've got to ask questions. Shagorem al piyah, in order to get them speaking, asking questions, and you should say it in Lashon Kodesh, no doubt about it. And then he quotes the Chatam Sofer in Pressburg in Germany, the great Chatam Sofer, sitting, I'm guaranteed his Pesach Seder, they were smart people, smart children. He used to do it in Hebrew, and then he would cite the entire Haggadah, B'Lashon Ashkenaz, in German. There would be 2 Haggadot in the home, he says, of the Chatam Sofer. He would say it in Hebrew, in the original understanding. But if there's people who don't know Hebrew, or don't know what's going on, he would be like, oh, by the way, and he'll start talking German, it's Pesach Seder. I don't know anywhere else we do this, because you don't understand what's happening, you miss the entire point. It's a story. It needs to be colorful, it needs to be understood. We bribe, we do weird things, we hide the matzah. All of this is to engage the kids, because just as we saw Rabbi Yoshua ben Hananiah from the Mishna in Pirkei Avot, his chut was in the praise of his mother. Not because she gave birth to him, but she gave birth to the desire of wanting to teach him Torah, so she would take him to the Bet Midrash every single day as a baby. She gets the schar for all of his learning. That she gets a mention in Mishnah Pirkei Avot. Not so bad, right? Not too shabby to get a Mishnah. How much Torah does she know? I don't know. Maybe she didn't know a blessed word. She gets rewarded for teaching children. If a person does not have children, they get rewarded for supplying information to other people's children. Either teaching young children or teaching people who are 30, 40, 50 who are like children, of which we have plenty today. And they supply the funds or they teach the Torah. Same thing. Ashrei Yoladato. It's as though you give birth to them. This is not my idea. If you teach Torah to other people's children, they become your children. That's the way it works. Okay, you may have to pay their yeshiva tuition, but you get rewarded for the Torah that they learned. Have a great, successful day.